Welcome to Plant and Water. On today's episode, we're going to discuss the concept of being still. You know, when it comes to being still, freeze frame, that is, it can be fun, when it comes to certain times, being still. Really, if I decide to be still, or we decide to be silly at the beginning of a Plant and Water episode, we can be still. But if we're forced to be still, that's a whole nother situation.
It's a hard thing to do.
We both have kids. JJ, when you tell your sons,
When I say be still, I think they mean run around the house continuously screaming.
Yeah,
Be still.
That's what they hear. They hear the opposite.
Yeah, they hear.
Be still. Oh, you mean? Yeah. It's the same for my boys. Or I'll tell them, all right, guys, I'm filming for something. Y'all need to be quiet.
Yeah.
Or I'm trying to hear your mother. The other day, Mary was up the hill and I couldn't hear her, and the boys were swimming in the lake, and I couldn't hear them. I said, all right, I need you guys to be still. I need you to be quiet.
Yeah.
I need you to not say a word. I said, I need silence. This is after the second time.
Yeah.
And I said, what was it? And I hear James whispering to his brother,
Yeah.
are we being quiet? Are we being still?
Yeah.
So to him, he thought he was being quiet. And I was saying absolute silence.
Yeah.
They didn't get it. We don't get it when it comes to being still. When it comes to what we've been forced right now in our society to be still, in essence. And the mandatory stillness has really, I think that's what's getting to us. We could stop and recognize, okay, I see why self-quarantining, we're trying to flatten the curve, all these different things we've been discussing, trying to be safe, trying to keep others safe. I get that. But when I'm forced to do it, there is something that causes us to go, no.
Yeah. And we're not actually told to be still. It's just stay in your house.
Just stay in your house.
It's not even actually sit there and be still and be quiet like we tell our kids.
Some people,
we can get out and do yard work and things, but we're told to stay at home. But it's still.
It's still. Yeah.
You're having to be still in your own home,
Yeah. Well, and for some people, of course, we'll get into the results of this. There have been some positives coming from this. And in our society, there have been some positives that people are recognizing, maybe that because of the lack of stillness in our society and the way that life was just a couple months ago, the go of the routine, we may not recognize the need for stillness until it actually takes place. So maybe as a result, we're finding positives in this. But we'll talk about that in just a moment. But when it comes to the mandatory stillness, we are not alone in that. I think every creature doesn't like to be still. I've unless it's a sloth. I mean, sloths, they like stillness. I mean, I think they're kind of they're made to be still. But I was thinking about the other day. I was thinking about this. My sister, I have a twin sister, and she had a Weimaraner before she got married. And this dog it was a big dog. And we would come over, and it was an inside dog. The moment I come in, that dog was up, paws in my face, and would jump on me and would nip. And I had holes in my shirts when we'd leave. Well, one day, my sister had to be gone, and she asked me to come over and dog sit for her. And we had a little tiny Lhasa Apso mixed with a poodle, Lhasa Poo, so many puns. But anyway, had that dog with me, and I thought, what am I going to do? I'm bringing my dog, and her dog was going to be a little crazy. So I knew what that dog was going to do. It was going to be in my face the moment I come in. I was like, I got an idea. So I opened the door. Sure enough, Layla comes up, and I mean, it's up in my arms. And I just hugged the dog, turned the dog to where the paws were this way, and I just held the dog. Well, she starts flailing. She does not want to be held like this, but I'm holding her, and I just slowly laid down on the ground. For about 5 minutes, I laid there, and Layla's sitting there pawing, and until finally she goes, and she completely stopped. And I'm saying, good girl. And from then on, that dog was the most precious. Like, I sat in the couch. She got up and laid in my lap, and my other dog, I had both of their heads in my lap, and I had a video of them sleeping on a couch. And I sent it to my sister. I was like, things are going great. You know, when it comes to that dog, though, I get that picture. That dog did not want the mandatory stillness. Was trying all that it could do to get away. But when I was the pack leader and causing that dog to recognize, hey, I'm not getting out, I give up. It was still. And that's when we learned peace. That's when we learned that, you know, hey, for me, who is my pack leader? I'm not saying that we're dogs, but let's read it backwards. God is our pack leader.
Yeah.
God is our pack leader. He's the one who is, you know, he requires stillness. We find that within nature. Ecclesiastes 3, 1 through 2, and verse 7. There's a season of stillness that helps us. And we're in that season right now. Do you want to read that for us?
Ecclesiastes 3, 1 and 2 says, there is a time for everything, and a season for every activity under the heavens. A time to be born, a time to die, a time to plant, and a time to uproot. Verse 7 says, a time to tear, and a time to mend, and a time to be silent, and a time to speak.
All right, so, you know, we've talked about this before, a time to plant and a time to uproot. You know, let's plant water. You know, that's kind of like, that's our go-to right there. You know, there's a time to plant, there's a time to uproot. But here there's a time to tear and there's a time to sow or to mend. But then it says a time to keep silent and a time to speak. There's a time, and in essence, there's a time to be still. There's a time to move. Right now, we're in the season of stillness. And there's it's natural when it comes to that. You know, and verse 11 says, God has made everything beautiful in its time. Also, he has put eternity into man's heart, yet that he cannot find out what God has done from the beginning to the end. God's made everything beautiful in his time. So God has made our times, our seasons of stillness. At the end of the day, God can use this, you know, through us. And I've mentioned that on other occasions as well. Let this happen, or let this stillness be used for his glory. So this is a time for stillness. But we will recognize what is truly important in those times. And I realize when it comes to this, though, there have been negative results from the stillness. You know, not being able to work, not being able to pay bills. This has been an extremely challenging time during this stillness. And so please know that we're not trying to, you know, we're not trying to sugarcoat this. We're not trying to, you know, make this into something, make light of this. But in essence, we're going to see that war is going to take place. There's going to be times of storms. There's going to be times of extreme difficulty. But we're still commanded to be still. To be still and know that he is God. We get that from Psalm 46, 8 through 10.
Psalm 46, 8 through 10 says, come and see what the Lord has done, the desolations he has brought on the earth. He makes wars cease to the ends of the earth. He breaks the bow and shatters the spear. He burns the shields with fire. He says, be still and know that I am God. I will be exalted among the nations. I will be exalted in the earth.
So when it says, come and see what the Lord has done, you know, I believe it's in the stillness that we recognize that what God has done. You know, yesterday there was a flyover. You know, we were supposed to have the flyover for the U.S. military. Air Force was going to fly over all the different hospitals, you know, trying to be an encouragement to all of our healthcare workers. You know, what a great solidarity, you know, to see that. Well, we thought we'd be able to see it from the church building, and so we went outside, and we're just looking up at the sky. And it was overcast. We didn't see anything. We didn't even hear the sonic boom. We didn't even hear anything. But what did we see? You remember?
Oh, yeah, we saw a hawk.
Saw a hawk and a crow chasing the hawk.
Yeah.
I thought, you get it, crow. Yeah, man, you go. That hawk's so much bigger. Like, man, you're probably getting close to his nest. And it's like, you ain't coming near me. And it was so cool to see that when do we stop and just look up at the sky? We're sitting there, we're trying to look at a steel bird flying by, and we recognize what God had created that gave the inspiration for the steel bird. You know what I mean? We saw something even, I think, just as powerful, but sometimes we just recognize it's commonplace. Wow, that was beautiful. So when we stop and we're still, we know, we look at and see what God has done, we're reminded of that just how small we are, just how big God is, and realize that it's what the psalmist is saying here is that God makes wars cease to the ends of the earth. He breaks the bow and shatters the spear. He burns the shields with fire. So when war's going on, you would think like war, it's never going to end. It's never going to cease. There's never going to be a ceasefire. But in God's time, there is a peace. There is an end to war. And so that's really like the calm after the storm. It's the idea of peace after war, the stillness. Be still and know that I am God. God is God and I am not. Well, I love the movie Rudy. It's one of my favorite movies. But one of my favorite quotes within that movie, it was, there are two things that I know for certain. There is a God and I'm not him. I mean, in essence, that's being still and knowing that he is God and I am not. And so in the stillness, we can find God and see what he has done. So as a result. But what happens if we fear in the midst of stillness? What happens if we're in the middle of that war? Notice it wasn't be still and know that I'm God when everything's going well. It's in the midst of war. He's the one that makes the war cease. We're to cease before it. We're to sit there and be still even when everything is horrible around us. So fear is going to happen. Difficulty is going to happen. How do we respond to it? Be still. And that really comes down to Exodus 14:13 through 14. Yeah.
Instead of reading from our ESV version that we have, I think you chose to read the NIV for specific at the end here.
Right.
Exodus 14:13 through 14 says, Moses answered the people, do not be afraid. Stand firm, and you will see the deliverance the Lord will bring you today. The Egyptians you see today you will never see again. The Lord will fight for you. You need only to be still.
For 400 years, they have been in Egyptian bondage. You talk about the concept of a pandemic, and they understood the concept of a pandemic 10 times over. But they understood slavery for 400 years. That's all they knew for centuries. For longer than our country's been in existence, they've been enslaved. But man, get our mind around that.
Yeah.
Goodness. And they've been praying to God to deliver them. And in God's time, he delivered them. So when it says, do not be afraid, stand firm, and you will see the deliverance of the Lord that he will bring you today. Wow, they've been waiting for that day for a long time. And that required stillness. That's what he's saying. The Lord will fight for you. You need only to be still. NIV says to be still. ESV said you need only to be silent. The two go hand in hand. In the same way, there are times to be silent, and there are times to speak. There are times to be still, and there are times to move. They go hand in hand.
When we tell our kids, be quiet, be still.
Yeah.
It goes hand in hand. And if you're going to be quiet, you're going to be still.
And if they can learn to be still, and we can learn to be patient with the process of their learning that, right? We're learning stillness in the same way.
We're learning patience.
We're learning patience. If they can learn to be still by following their father, their mother, if they can learn to be still in following, in essence, their pack leader, then that's actually, there's a foundation there. There's a faith there. That's when faith can grow. If your foundation is right, then your walls are going to stand. Your roof is going to stand. Your home is going to stand. So if our children can learn to be still, then it's only going to be better for them in life. If we can learn to be still and recognize that God is the head of our homes, God is the head of our situation, then we're going to be able to sit and see what He has done. We're going to have hope when everything else is hopeless around us. Hope. And for the last passage I'd like for us to look at has to do with silence and hope.
Psalm 62:5 says, "For God alone, O my soul, wait in silence, for my hope is from Him."
When he's telling this to himself, he's reminding, "For God alone, O my soul, wait in silence, for my hope is from Him." So David is saying, I need to be reminded. I need to remind myself to wait in silence because my hope is in God. Don't we need that reminder today? We need a reminder every day to wait for God's timing. And we've used this before. What is it? Even young men will faint and be weary, and they'll fall exhausted. But they that wait upon the Lord shall renew their strength, mount with wings as eagles. Kind of like that hawk we saw yesterday.
Oh, yeah.
They'll run and not be weary. They shall walk and not faint. Waiting on the Lord. So while we wait for this pandemic to cease, while we wait for things to possibly go back to normal, wait on the Lord. Don't forget that He's working during this time. And He's planning to work through you if you're willing to do so. And so just like we tell our children to sit still, may we sit still today and look at what He's done and what He is doing. Thank you so much for joining us. If you've got any questions concerning what we've discussed or any biblical discussion, any questions, please reach out to us at richard@deerfootcoc.com, and we would love to help in any way we can. And maybe join in with us during our online while we're waiting until we can all be together, while we're being still. For COVID-19, we have digital online services. And so if you would like to tune in during that time, that would be wonderful at 10:30. That's on Sundays. We'll love to encourage you to be with us.
You can see any of these videos at any time, too, on our Deerfoot website page or our Facebook page, Deerfoot Church of Christ. So if you miss out on any of these, you can go back and review them anytime.
Right. So. Yeah, that's right. Again, thank you so much for joining us. Have a blessed day.
Have a good day.